All right, so the next team we're going to be looking ahead to 2024 is the Ohio State Buckeyes, coming off a loss to Missouri, 14-3 in the Cotton Bowl. Ohio State does lose some key pieces this year. Should be a top 10 team next year, though. It looks like they're going to be bringing in some key pieces. We'll take a look at the transfer portal, look at their recruiting rankings, look at their schedule next year, kind of get a feel on what they're going to do next year. But before we get into that, before I forget, it does look like at the moment, Will Howard, Kansas State quarterback, is on campus visiting Ohio State at the moment, as well as Alabama center transfer Seth McLaughlin, who you remember had a bunch of bad snaps against Michigan. But if you can move him away from center, maybe put him at guard. He is a heck of a blocker, though. But Will Howard, Kansas State quarterback, is the key get here for the Buckeyes because at the moment, they don't know who the quarterback's going to be. McCord's gone. Is it going to be Devin Brown? Is it going to be Howard? Who knows? We'll see. Let's go ahead and get into it a little bit here. Like I said, this year had a pretty successful season. Only lost to Missouri in the bowl game, but they didn't have anybody. Then lost to Michigan, which is in your national championship, probably going to be the national champion. Barely lost to them with Kyle McCord at quarterback. So if you can get a quarterback in here, I think you're going to be okay. You do lose some key pieces, though. Like I said, you're losing Marvin Harrison to the draft. You should be getting Henderson back again, though, the running back. Do lose some other receivers, though. So we'll get let's take a look at that real quick. Looking at the recruiting rankings here. All right, so they've got the 5th ranked class right now, and they have the 93rd ranked transfer class. That transfer class should shoot up, like I said, if they get that quarterback and center combo that they're looking at right now, though. Let's look at their recruiting, though. Number 1 receiver, number 1 player, Jeremiah Smith. Got another 5-star receiver here, Mylan Graham. Okay, so they do have receiver help coming in to replace all those receivers I talked about leaving. So you got 7th ranked edge rusher, 2nd rated cornerback. So they're loading up here. Aaron Noland, another possibility at quarterback that I've heard that he looks pretty impressive from what I've seen so far. But bringing another good class here. Transfer portal wise, they haven't gotten into too much yet. Only gotten one solid commit here, which is Ohio tight end transfer Will Kakmarek, if I'm saying that right. They have lost a lot of transfers, though. Let's look at that real quick. All right, so everybody on your screen, you can see, I'm going to scroll down, is all leaving Ohio State. Now, there's a possibility they come back. Now, not a lot of these guys really any contributed besides, maybe Julian Fleming. He was a starting receiver for the majority of the year, but he's headed to Penn State. But other than that, besides Kyle McCord, too, headed to Syracuse. Probably the biggest loss. I know he wasn't the best quarterback for Ohio State, but he only lost to Michigan. He won a ton of ball games. And if you beat Michigan, you might be a national champion team this year. And they were this close to beat Michigan with Kyle McCord. So if you get the right quarterback in here, I think you're in business. Let's look at their schedule next year, though. You've got the new look Big Ten. You're adding USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington. So it's going to be a little different. But preseason-wise, they should be okay. You got Akron, that's a win. Western Michigan, that's a win. Marshall, that's a win. You got Michigan State, that should be a win. Iowa, always going to be a tough out, but still going to be a win. Your first tough test here is going to be Oregon. All right, at Oregon, I think Oregon's going to be better than they were this year even. They've got Dylan Gabriel coming in, which I think is a better quarterback than Bo Nix. Dylan Gabriel, the Oklahoma transfer, if you don't know who he is, kind of tore up some teams this year, went off against Texas, kind of won the game by himself. But I think Ohio State ultimately beats Oregon, depending on, who their quarterback is, obviously. Nebraska, that's a win. Penn State, at Penn State, never easy, but it should be a win. The Buckeyes kind of have their number right now. Purdue should be a win. Northwestern should be a win. Indiana should be a win. Then you got the game at the end versus Michigan. Michigan's losing a ton. I think they're going to be losing head coach Jim Harbaugh as well to the NFL. So I think that's a win. I think Ryan Day finally gets over the hump against Michigan, which should put you undefeated or with possibly one loss at Oregon is really the only loss I could see them having. Put you in the playoff because you can lose 2 or 3 games now and be in the playoff if you're Ohio State. They're going to be in the playoff, no doubt. And if you get the right quarterback in place here, I think you have the potential to be a national champion team next year. If they bring in Will Howard, I'm not the biggest Will Howard fan, but he's still an upgrade over whatever they have right now. So if he transfers there, I could see maybe putting them in the top 5 preseason. They've got a lot of pieces coming back. Like I said, they are losing some key stuff, but Ohio State is always loaded up. You could put them up there with Alabama and Georgia probably as being consistently really good. But I see them being undefeated or one loss in the playoff. What do you think of Ohio State next season? What do you think they should add? What do you want to see them do in the transfer portal? to maybe win the championship next year. Can they win the championship next year? How many wins, how many losses they got on their schedule? Let me know. Comment down below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe.